Hello there, everybody. Welcome back for another evening of League of Legends action here in the NLC. My name is Middlecott, joined by Veteran for this evening's games. Mate, we are starting to run out of regular split. Only 4 game days ahead of us before we head towards the playoffs.
We are, and the top of the table is still extremely competitive. It's not just the Riddle Nord runaway. Ruddy have actually managed to draw blood there. And most exciting for me, Veneer are starting to close games, which is incredible. All right? Thank you so much, guys, for not making all of those games torture from now on.
Yeah, I did see a couple of tweets as like, if the results go a certain way last week, that we end up with basically everyone locked for playoffs coming into today. Thankfully, that hasn't happened, and there is still a heck of a lot to play for. So let's have a little look at the games that we are going to be casting over this evening and seeing how they are going to be affecting things. I believe that is the wrong schedule graphic, which is absolutely fine, because I can read them off here. We are going to be having Ruddy going off against Domino, Unique facing off against Veneer, Natives versus Riddle, and then our match of the day with Verdant versus Nord, as we got the predictions there, with the correct games on it. Veteran, how are we feeling about today?
I mean, unless you're Ruddy, it does feel like a fairly sold day, but that means that if you're going to get massive upsets anytime, it's going to be today, right? We all expect Ruddy to beat Domino, Veneer to beat Unique, Natives to beat Riddle, Verdant, sorry, I'm sorry, no one says that, Nord to beat Verdant, right? But any one of Verdant, Natives, Unique, and Domino could show us that, you know, they have more to sell today. You know, they're not just going to go 0-11 by the end of the day of your Natives, right? Maybe we get huge upsets that tell us more about the vulnerabilities of the top teams, right? Any upset that happens today, you have to imagine, say Nord lose, Riddle and Ruddy are going to study that loss to see, okay, how do we take Nord in the next part of the bracket, right? So could be a real teller today about how these teams behave and what that thread to pull at is to finally get them to collapse.
That is very key, because whilst we, at the start of the split, had the NLC pegged as sort of a 2-horse race right at the top of the table with Nord and Riddle being there, Ruddy have really sort of come into their own over the past few weeks. They're on a 5-game win streak, longest current win streak in the NLC, and they were able to take down Riddle. So absolutely a team that can push themselves into that conversation for top 2 if they keep up with the strong performances. Domino, their opponents today, I think a little bit less to play for, but we've seen this team pull out some creative strategies, some weirder things, and push those top teams like Riddle right to the very edge.
I mean, from an org perspective, sure, we could say that they have like a little bit less to play for at this point, but from a player perspective, you want to prove that you deserve to move up in the rankings in the next season, right? You're playing for your next job. Even at the point where teams get knocked out, you have to bear this in mind. That's when those players individually are hungriest, and individual performances have been a huge thing for this team. All right, at this point, we've never really come off thinking, okay, it's a skill gap with all 5 lanes. There have been moments of highlights across all of our bottom teams, right? Like, you are a big fan of Pool 2277, remember? So all these individuals, they are able to show up big, and they still have every incentive to do it, if not more so, at this stage of the competition.
Yeah, the onus really is on you. If there isn't anything for your team to fight for, you can play for yourself as well and try and impress some of those other rosters. And looking at our second game of the day, we've already mentioned a certain gentleman here in Pool 227, the mid laner for Unique going up against Veneer. And whilst this isn't our match of the day, Veteran, this is one that could have some massive implications for the standings.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Like, I expect Veneer to take it, but let's be real, we haven't been able to consistently see Veneer close out games. And a team like Unique, we have seen make massive comebacks in their very few wins, right? Those have come off of the back of comebacks in later stages of the game. And their ADC and their support, they've been positions that we've looked at very strongly. We like Cyrax, we like Peterson, and when we look at Veneer, that's also the area we really like from them, right? We do like how Chrisberg's been playing. Obviously, I'm quite a fan of the way that they play jungle as well on Veneer, but ultimately, even if you're playing jungle well, that just means you're playing around your bot lane better than your opponent. So I actually think this matchup could be pretty volatile. I understand why Ruddy might think that it goes Unique's way, because if they attack from anywhere, it's going to be bot lane. With Unique, the question's always been, do they finally get their mid jungle working together? Or is it like, you know, the Antwerp Pool 227 show separate, or finally in the duet that we've always hoped that they would become? Because if it's a duet, they have the tools to win.
I was actually doing a little bit of digging into this veteran, and I saw that the Unique players, their kill participation as a percentage is some of the lowest in the league. And I think that really speaks to sort of the point that we're coming across here, where we've not really got any issues with Unique as players, but it's more about gluing them together and actually having a roster. And I think that these are issues that maybe if we were talking about them in week 1, week 2 are perfectly justified, but it is something that has hampered their ability to push any higher up throughout the course of the split.
Yeah, I mean, they had a rough first few weeks as well in terms of their opponents, right? So it was difficult to see them form together as a unit when you have harder schedules to open with. But at this point, there's not really an excuse, right? You've had weeks and weeks to go over this. You know the difficulties you began with. We need to see them start forming more as a team. I like Pool 227, but it's not like his champ pool invites map roaming, say like how Fire Rain's been doing with his Lissandra and stuff. Really easy champions to take control with and impact the map with. And I do believe the key to both these teams' success is going to be whether their mid jungle can unlock their bot lane. So let's see if maybe today Unique managed to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a Veneer win.
And of course, if Veneer do get that win, they're then going to be able to keep up the pressure on Verdant, who really don't have a nice week ahead of them. They're playing Nord a little bit later on today, and then they've got Riddle later in the week too. So if Veneer can get a 2-0 week going, they're actually even in the standings with Verdant, and that completely shakes up how we are looking at the table going into that final week. Third game of the day is going to be, I think, our most decisive contest, at least on paper, right? We've got Native still yet to pick up a win, taking on Riddle, who, whilst they have bled a little bit, they are still Riddle.
Yes. I mean, you've got big words coming in from Sebel last time that we were casting. He has a lot of confidence in his ability to come in and fix the lineup, so to speak, right? He is essentially their fixer. And they did perform well. It was another loss, but they did perform quite well, right? But whether that's a honeymoon period, I guess we'll find out or not today. Hopefully, if they're able to get something today, they're able to carry it through into the next week. But, you know, I think it's probably good to point out that they're not the only lineup undergoing changes in this matchup, right? You have Riddle undergoing changes with Jinjo in the bot lane, subbed in for Reptile, and as a result, Riddle aren't looking quite as strong as they did before, and Riddle have bled, right? Very recently with this exact lineup. So Ruddy have shown that it's possible to get through that. Maybe you just specifically try to target Riddle, and you can go for a win over them in that regard. Let's see. Maybe they've learned from the Ruddy VODs. It's not impossible for them to be able to take a win here. They have an information advantage that Riddle don't necessarily have.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a tough task, but if you can pull out something a little bit different that surprises Riddle, who have been experimenting in terms of some of the compositions that they're running, like I mean, Lissandra is just kind of a really good champion right now.
Only one guy plays.
For some reason, veteran, we don't know why. We don't know why pro players like this sometimes.
It's true. I mean, hats off to Fire Rain for understanding it, right? But, like, still, it's a bit mind-blowing. No one else seems to learn from it or get around it. There's no way you're practicing against Lissandra in these scrims. I think you have to remove champions like that if you want to make things competitive with Riddle. But that might be a bit of an aside.
Well, and it is the sort of uniqueness that they have kind of approached the game with. Fire has been much more of an enabler for the rest of his team than I think most of the mid laners have been in the NLC.
Yes.
And so if he's not able to get on map and help out Jinjo in the bot lane, who obviously new AD carry coming in, you're always going to have that little bit
very
of
aggressive as well.
How does he integrate into the roster? Very aggressive, different player from Reptile, and that does give an opportunity to natives, even though it's a bit of a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, in his time in Gamer Legion and on Mad Lions, Jinjo was very much a forward player that pretty much demands to be played around. Not necessarily saying that in comms he's demanding, but his playstyle pretty much demands you play through him or things could potentially start to go bad. In this meta, I'd say it favors Jinjo, right? We're looking at Ashe, Heimerdinger, AD carries played in support roles, heavy priority bot lanes, and bridge junglers. And honestly here, like with a player like Firerain who understands what the meta is right now, the Johan Firerain duo, this could be a place where he shines. But they're still integrating him, right? That's not how they played with Reptile. Right, they stalled into skirmishes with Reptile, whereas with Jinjo, you're going to have to play for towers on bot, and that presents a challenge for Riddle. We'll see if they overcome it, or we'll see if natives decide, okay, this is an aspect of the game where you guys are a bit out of sync right now. Let's see if we can do something about that.
Hey, the chance is there for them. But before we are going to be jumping into our first game of the day with Champions Select coming up in about 5 minutes, we got time to chat about our match of the day. Verdant going up against Nord. Both teams in the top half of the table. Nord occupying one of those top two coveted spots. Get you into the upper bracket, the winner's bracket in playoffs. Verdant kind of hanging on in fourth position at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, something about Nord does and doesn't surprise me, right? Like, obviously you have a lot of experience with Will Singh and bot lane, but do we ever think of them as strong laners? Not so much, but this split, they've been kind of smurfing over every bot lane they come across in a very bot lane-centric meta, even with champions that don't typically spike super early on. Lucian Nami lane, for example, that's more of a mid-game skirmishing composition, but they are just unstoppable with it in lane just through solid fundamentals. And what I want to see from Nord today is another top-to-bot setup. I think they've given Wild the breathing room he needs to adjust to this. I think it's appropriate for the meta right now. I need to know that Nord can consistently pull this off. And for Verdant, right, I mean, there was always a time frame when Verdant were going to finally start getting punished, because this wasn't a team that was doing that much in the early phases of the game. And as a result, this is a team where I think Nord need to prove to us that they have a solid early game plan. Because Nord, normally, they break those games open in mid-late game. It's not as planned as Riddles, but we need to know that they're able to play through this bot lane in the early phase very cleanly, and if they do that against Verdant, I think they can be very, very confident coming into playoffs.
Yeah.
Verdant, on the other hand, I mean, they need to show us that they can play the game full stop, to be honest. Not to throw a level of shade at Verdant, but the comeback method's not working anymore, and we don't seem to have a plan B. And we need to see a lot more than what they're showing us if they're going to solidify their position over, say, Veneer, who have finally figured out their errors in late game closing, right? So
I mean, a Veneer team
today.
A Veneer team that they lost to last week, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
So whilst they were able to do sort of that sweep of the bottom three teams, they weren't able to take down Veneer, who are their main competition at the moment, and the rest of the split is going to be very, very difficult for them to close out and hold on to that position. I still think that this team does have strength. I think that E-Roll can bring a unique approach to a lot of control mages. He does play stuff that no one else in the league really does, like the Cassiopeia. And then Kevo can be incredibly competent on some of these scaling AD carries like the Zeri, like the Sivir. The options are there for Verdant, but I agree with you, it's going to be a tough task against this Nord side.
I mean, Nyla as well, right? But Nyla's almost in the wrong meta right now. Sure, Fiora's strong, Jax is strong, but it really is a play-through bot lane meta. We do need to think more about Kevo. Anything Errol gets, we need to be taking towards that bot side. And I don't feel like Verdant ever figured out the team identity that works properly on 13-1, 13-1B, and it is punishing them now, right? Like, there's only so much that you can rely on Taxa's insane timing with the smite and God throwing everyone else's timing off in that regard. And that time has come. We need to see now that they're going to be a team that could be competitive in the future, because they missed that chance to get a 2-0 over Veneer. Veneer have shown that they can get past that area of the game where they were struggling. Verdant need to show us that they can at least make sure that a team like Nord can't get early game over them. This is where you prove it, right?
It's that sort of development over the course of the split that we've seen from Veneer, maybe not as much from Verdant. But coming back to our first game of the day, before we jump into that, reminder is going to be Ruddy versus Domino. And whilst we've discussed this a little bit, I kind of want to go a little bit deeper into a couple of the big carries here over on the side of Ruddy. Voxney and Niter, I think, were very, very hyped coming into this split as these sort of players from the NLC region that have gone off and played in other ERLs, maybe not had as much success as they necessarily would have liked, definitely for Voxney. Niter's probably had a decent time of himself. But coming into this Ruddy roster, they've performed very, very well. They've shown up in a big way. And as we jump into Champion Select, I'm intrigued how we're going to be seeing the champion pool of Niter especially warp this draft.
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because DV and Niter were both on the same Mad Lions team that wasn't going so well for multiple iterations of Niter being there and the one split that Voxney was there. But Voxney, I mean, he is yet to lose when he comes back to the NLC, right? He had his one split last year where he wasn't in the NLC with Mad Lions with Niter. He came back with, God, I'm blanking on the team's name, but it was Pink. Do you remember?
Dusty,
thank you. Yes, sorry. Big ups, Dusty. And immediately won again, right? Against the very hyped Tech 7, you could call them like the riddle of the NLC last year, right? Yeah. In a 3-0 reverse sweep in the finals, or 3-2, obviously, reverse sweep in the finals, which was also how he was able to beat the Fnatic lineup that he defeated the year beforehand as his first split in. So, yes, Voxney's lineup has had a kind of slow start. It's weird to say that when you're looking at an 8-2 scoreline versus a 2-8 scoreline, but they aren't dominating at the opening. But one has to remember, DV teams are never fully dominating at the opening, and DV teams scale better than basically any other consistent lineup that we've seen in the NLC. So, big hopes for him.
I think we might just have a little bit of an issue with the champion select. I'm not sure if you're getting that on your screen. I can't see the champions that have been locked in, which is...
Well, that's what you're focusing on. What I'm focusing on is the fact that Domino have done the optimal red side bans, but they're on blue side.
Well, I mean, it feels pretty smart against No Name, who I think has kind of mirrored Ruddy in a lot of ways. He had some interesting performances in early weeks. That Lee Sin game was whatever it was, but he's put up some very, very good performances. He's currently got 4-day MVPs, joint first in that regard, and 3 jungle bans. I think honestly, he deserves the respect.
It's a free jungle bans thing, and I understand the Sedge ban, but hear me out here. There are essentially 3 champions that you really want to be playing in the first pick of blue side, and that's Elise, Maokai, and Ashe, right? Ashe pretty much cannot lose bot lane right now. Elise cannot lose jungle right now. Free camp clear into the most easy dives in the bot lane centric meta. That's really, really strong. Maokai, I mean, the tree is basically invincible. So what's happened here is that Domino opened with the Elise ban, which isn't what you want to do if you want to bait into a Maokai first pick without repercussions. Why ban the Elise instead of taking the Elise? Because if you first pick the Elise and the enemy gets the Ashe, you can't get the dive off on bot side. Maybe you win skirmishes, but the enemy will win the push on bot, right? So if you remove the Elise and go for the Maokai versus Ashe, you have a ridiculously strong jungler that isn't as dependent on the early game as the Elise is, and the enemy can't get Elise with their Ashe, right? So you can just win the skirmish on bot side and defend against dives.
Just heard from production, we are having issues with the draft. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that fixed before we get into the game, so...
Mate, you've given me 6 bans. I can ring this out for the next 45 minutes if you want. Okay? All right? I'm literally still only talking about the Elise. The problem with showing the Elise ban so early is that now Ruddy knows that if they ban the Ashe, right, and you can't go for the Maokai first pick, then they're going to be able to get the Maokai for themselves, and you're not going to be able to counter with Ashe. So what has to be true here is that Dominoes are incapable of going the Maokai in first rotation, which is weird to me, right? I feel like Domino's a very simple champion to pick up, but we did see in the LEC, for example, that 113 had to have the Maokai removed on blue side in multiple circumstances until their very, very last series, which was the only time he ever actually played Maokai. So it is possible that they're just not capable of doing it, but I do find it weird, because once you've done Elise for Ashe ban, surely you're thinking about the first pick Maokai. Ban the Sedge, ban whatever else No Name might think about going that isn't Lee Sin, we remember that game, No Name, and go for the Maokai first pick. That's how I think you should go here. These next bans are really interesting though, right? The Ziggs, that's definitely targeted against a possible AP bot from Lari. We have actually seen that done already. Yep. The Gragas, they're probably thinking that that's what Saikar wanted to do. Gragas opening is really good because it's a quadraflex, right? A quadraflex pick, which you could argue gives it more value than the Maokai, but the Maokai is just completely busted, so I don't really think it does. But this forces Dominus to do a Maokai ban because they're basically showing we can't do that, and that's a really big issue in the draft. If you can't do that, I don't think you ban the Elise, right? I think you just go for the Elise and ban the Ashe and try to get a counter pick on bot side. Kassadin Yasuo bans in second rotation with Silas Kalista bans in second rotation. That's really weird to me. It does mean Ruddy obviously haven't gone for even a flex mid lane pick in the opening 3 picks. But the Kassadin ban specifically means Domino probably have some form of a tank jungler right now. And they don't want to be punished for blinding a mage mid, or the other way around, right? They have a mage mid right now and don't want to be punished for going into a tank jungler, because that's when Kassadin becomes a really, really, really strong pick. The Kalista ban could even be a support Kalista ban. I have no clue here. But they've gone for a mid ban and a support ban, so they're very confident in their particular strategy, and their strategy is vulnerable to all-ins, right? That's what that tells me. So we're probably not looking at a disengage comp from Ruddy right now. We're probably looking at some kind of a heavy, aggressive, all-in skirmishing comp. I wouldn't be surprised to see it be like a Sivir composition of some kind. But this is all speculation. If it's a Sivir composition, that would pair really well with the Kassadin as well. So that would explain a lot of the bans that Dominoes have got going. Yeah, but obviously... Well, I mean, it remains to be seen once we see the champs.
This has been incredibly impressive.
I mean, I haven't seen the champs yet. Let's see. Maybe I'm gotten this completely wrong. All right.
So, I am getting word from production that they're going to be typing it out in the Discord channel that we've got here, and then having a look. Okay, right. So, these are in roll order. So, Domino have gone for Jace, Viego, Syndra, Seraphine, and Rel. We're just waiting to hear what Ruddy have gone for.
Okay, so that's the AP bot pick. They were banning the Ziggs because we figured Lari was going to be the one grabbing that. That seems to be true. So it's an all-in composition from Ruddy. Ornn, Vi, Ryze, Varus, Alistar, and the Alistar Ornn explains the Yasuo bans, right? But that is the mother of all-in easy compositions, with Ryze sat there being like, boys, now is the perfect time to realm warp in base, and everyone being like, glory to the plan. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm banning Kassadin, I'm banning Yasuo if I see that. I assume the Syndra must have been picked early on into the Viego later on, or it's just because they know they're going to be going for the AP bot lane pick, so the Kassadin's going to be even more valuable then. I don't have pick order here, I just have the picks themselves. But yeah, Jason to Ornn is a really, really interesting one. Actually on the top side there. We've typically seen like a lot of Cassante priority from this team. Going into Ornn there does look to me like they really wanted the Yasuo, right? And Nita is a huge Yasuo player, so it wouldn't surprise me if they locked that in early on and then went for 5th pick on something like the
Jace as well, right? That is a massive pick for Nita. He's played it like in 4 of the last 5 games. So Domino, they kind of sort of trying to counter out the mid lane here by removing 2 of those big AD picks. Yeah,
I mean, Nita's pool is a difficult one for a lot of teams to get around, because stuff like Jace and stuff like Yasuo have very pointed counters that don't exist in the pools of a lot of players here. I really do like Jace flex picks, but to be that worried about a Jace and pick it away because you're worried Nita would go it, that indicates to me that maybe the Vi came out really late, whereas Vi would normally be an opening pick. Because if you're going Vi, Varus, Alistair, and you go Yasuo, tank options for Dominoes are really simple, I feel like. But again, I'm not quite sure of the order. Rel plus Seraphine is interesting because Rel spikes really, really well level 1, and then becomes progressively more completely arse for the rest of the game. Whereas Seraphine, like,
sort of the opposite,
needs
really.
Lost chapter based. Yeah, like basically, we're waiting a while before the Seraphine comes into play.
Well, I tell you what, veteran Snobby used that massive level 1 spike to do a little bit of an invade onto the Ruddy topside jungle, and they are going to be able to spot out No Name here. I think this was fairly not obvious, but you can expect the Vi is going to be starting topside when you've got an Ornn up there and you're pathing towards a Varus Alistair.
Yep, you are, and I like. It's interesting to me that they're doing this. Oh, wait, the Jace here, trying to make play level 1 in the brush. That's really good. This matchup gets progressively better for Ornn over time. The Jace can win out on short trades, but once level 6 comes in, Ornn's response to that is to initiate a full long trade with the Jace, and he'll always win those. Trying to get something strong level 1 for the Jace will be really good for the matchup here, especially with the jungler pathing bot to top. If he just plays like a Psycho, that's going to be really strong. And yeah, we're pathing away from a Rel. But, I mean, you're also pathing away from a Seraphine, and there's no realistic way that they're going to get lethal on bot lane in these early phases. Varus here into a AP plus a all-in champ. Like, I mean, it's pretty easy priority for Ruddy. So both junglers, even though they're going opposite sides, I think that's really good for both sides there.
Yeah, just moving to the parts of the map that make most sense. In the mid lane, Shaolin has been able to exert a fair bit of pressure onto Nita in the early stages, who I'm sure is just going to be concerned with clearing those waves, getting that tier as fast as possible, and becoming that late-game scaling Rise monster we all know he can be. Shackle, make your play in the top side onto Rifty, who's going to burn the flash, and then uses the Bellows Breath to immune the Spectral Maw. It's not going to be enough, though, as Shackle gets first blood.
Yeah, the wave there definitely didn't look so good for Rifty when he went in, which means something was going wrong with the trades early. I feel like the Jace was able to force Rifty to take a level of aggro that shoved the minions in towards the Jace, but not entirely sure what happened. Either way, definitely a misplay from Rifty. You should never be that far up in this kind of jungle scenario, and there's no reason to think that the Viego's going top to bot in these matchups. So, good by Dominoes to capitalize. Mistake in the opening phases of the game by Ruddy, though crucially the Jace has not actually been able to recall, and that gank did make the wave decent for Rifty. So, however, the Jace will get his B now.
Yeah, the long-term repercussions may not be great for the Domino top laner, but Shackle is going to be very happy basing at around about 3 minutes and coming back with a Sheen that has great efficiency, great synergy with the Viego's kit, so he's going to be glad to pick that up. No Name has been able to farm a few more of his camps, though, so is in the lead in terms of XP at the moment. But of course, catch-up XP is a thing, and Shackle will be absolutely fine.
Yep, and with that Sheen plus Dirk on topside, you have to think repeat ganks are going to be the name of the game here. A Sheen is not something we're picking up for jungle clear, it's something we're picking up to be active in our lanes. And Viego is a champion you pick to be active in your lanes. So, expecting action from Shackle rest of the game, but Vi's coming in first.
Yeah, Fionbom has flash, but he's kind of run into the alcove, which is a very difficult place to escape from the Bellows Breath. Is going to get the stun. No Name with the first kill for Ruddy.
Yeah, nice to give that to your jungler. I'm still of the firm belief that the most important first item spike in the game is the jungle first item spike, and especially if it's Ornn plus Vi, you would much prefer your Vi to have it. That initial spike will be carried to the rest of the lanes, which is what's making Viego such an imminent threat before that point.
But hold on, Domino responding with the dragon on the bot side, and this is kind of... It exemplifies the way that we've been talking about Domino. It doesn't feel like they're a bad team. They do smart things. They can play out these early stages quite well for themselves, but they haven't been able to really close them out and chain them into wins. They might get locked in the pit though, but actually Sabi is going to flash forward onto Domino, and Naita is going to get taken down, and now Domino will fall. They get a 2-for-1 in that fight, but Shackle is on the wrong side of things. It is a double for Den Voxnay, and I'm not sure the Domino jungler is going to be very, very long for this world. No Name with another kill.
Well, for about 5 minutes there was hope, you know? Yeah, it was going well for a bit, get a gank off on top, but here Snabby went all in, kind of forgetting that his team is far and away from spiking here, goes for the interrupts on Rise. You have to wonder if maybe there was a plan to get the rest of his team out, but that would require Larry to burn Flash, a lot of people to burn Flash to get out, but there was realistically no way that they were winning that, and you can see the power of the Alistar against an all-in champion like Snarby that allows this Varus Alistar lane to be so dominant, along with obviously the comparative weakness of Larry in the early phases of the game.
And Nash has been a real standout player for Ruddy, being able to continually find engages on, well, stuff like the Alistar there. I think of the Rakan as well. Champions that haven't really been too popular, at least for the first half of this season. He's still able to make it work. Picked up 3 assists for himself. Gone for the Moby boots, actually. This is a cow that wants to get on map as soon as possible.
Yeah. Shackle's still trying to find things in lane. I do fully agree with what you're saying about Nash, though. He had a really good split with Riddle before, but he's really come into his own and into the spotlight somewhat with this Ruddy roster. The opening Sona games, obviously, is quite strange to see someone able to play those champions and willing to do them in those kinds of matchups. But he's showing that these all-in and pick-based champions that he was doing so well on Riddle are still his bread and butter. And yeah, he played that team fight brilliantly. Right now, the question is more or less how Ruddy look to close and transition into a winning mid-game for them where they have tempo. For me, I think it's going to come down to this Herald. They should be thinking about a swap from bot into mid into top. Nash already ahead on those moves.
But Shaolin pressing E and just knocking the cow away. Snarby's going to see this as a potential opportunity to jump onto Den Voxnay, but still has Flash, still has Cleanse, still has the Chains of Corruption. It's very hard to lock down this Varus in a side lane.
But if Shaolin is pressing E on the Alistar, he's not pressing E on the wave, and that gives Ruddy priority in towards the Nash on top side. Sorry, in towards the Herald on the top side. And even though Varus didn't move with them off the priority on bot, he can match Larry because Larry's teleport got burned by that play at the Infernal. So Ruddy, they're ahead right now.
Oh, Shaolin walking in, getting caught by the Chains of Corruption. He's going to get an ult down onto Den Voxnay. Larry only hitting one with the Encore. The Syndra is able to escape with a slither of HP, but Nash will not be so lucky. It's a trade kill as Den Voxnay is going to take out the enemy jungler, and Snarby is kind of in a rough spot here. Will pick up Naita before he falls down. Finally, Rifty is able to join the fight. Bun is dead. Ooh. And it's a close run thing, but Ruddy come out on top.
Highlights on Den Voxnay there, though, whereas kills weren't present for Ruddy at the very beginning of the fight, he got Shaolin so low that Shaolin was effectively out of the fight and essentially held 3 people on his flank there. So look, Nash goes in, throws Shaolin in towards Den Voxnay, and Shaolin, he gets away on the sliver, but he's not effective in the fight anymore, and then Larry is forced out by DV as well. Right there was a millisecond where DV was essentially 1v3, but Larry and Shaolin being unable to participate in the fight meant that even though the opening kills came over to Domino, the fight was firmly in Ruddy's hands, and there was no real way that Domino were going to be able to enter in and claim a team fight victory.
Veteran Den Voxnay's got an immortal shield bow and Zerka Greaves at 9.5 minutes. This Varus is absolutely off to the perkies. Domino starting up the Rift Herald. They've already lost a fight around here before, but they feel better about their chances. They shouldn't do, though. That is a big attempt at an ultimate from Snarby, but he's not going to get down in time. Actually, No Name is taken solo, and that is a shutdown for Thyompum. Okay, Domino, you are fighting back against the third-place team. Nash, isolated, low, not able to get over the wall, and will fall down dead. Is it a 2-for-2 as it stands? Den Voxnay still trying to do... No, he's dead, actually. Can't contribute to the fight. Rifty forced back away. It is madness in the early game. Shackle locks down Rifty. Snarby gets the kill. Domino, they keep fist fighting with Ruddy. 8 kills to 10 minutes in.
There was no ultimate on the Varus in the opening stages of that fight. If any fight was done too haphazardly, it was this one. Rifty, he is able to disengage here, but Nash and No Name say, we take this fight. Look at the cooldown on them Boxney on the ultimate there. If he has the ult, they easy win the fight. And even though he's 1v3 here, it takes ages to take out Snarby, it takes ages for Niter to get in, and by the time he does, Shackle is in there getting the resets on Viego.
Oh my god, they're fighting again, veteran! They're fighting again, veteran! Respawns haven't even come through for the previous fight. DB does not go down. Rifty saves his AD carry's life. And Larry will not be so lucky. These fights have been on a knife's edge, but Ruddy seem to be getting the advantage.
This is surely a scrim game that we're just accidentally broadcasting. No, like, this is not real gameplay. This time, the Viego's not even going to get the chance to get resets. Once that Viego starts getting resets, the HP discrepancies between the two teams become far too massive on many occasions. DV's not there at the start again and no ultimate, but it was a really good pick. You can see the Immortal Shilbo doing work for them Boxney there. Rifty just barely saving him before the melee strike comes back up from Jace. And as a result, they're able to win that fight in its entirety. It's a 2v1 on the side with them Boxney coming in, just effectively making an elongated 3v1. Very easy fight for Ruddy to clean up there, but they're just taking every fight indiscriminately. Given the fight that happened before then, I don't think Ruddy are planning any of this. They're just seeing Hero and attempting to kill Hero, and if it turns out the fight wasn't a good circumstance, they win it. The only player who seems to be aware of whether it's good or not is the guy getting caught on your screen right now on 100 to 0.
No.
Fairness, that's not a fight.
That is a gank, a pick, I believe it's called. Sorry, my League of Legends brain has been a little bit fried.
That ain't a fight, that's a beatdown. They just took him down to the back alley and kicked him to death.
That's not a very nice thing to do to someone.
No, it's terrible. And yet we celebrate the fact that there have been 23 deaths so far in this League of Legends game.
Lord. I tell you what, veteran, if all of our games are like this today, I'm not sure I'm going to have a voice by the end of it. Herald is going to be summoned in the mid lane, not going to be able to take down that tower, but we'll get some more gold into the hands of Ruddy. Despite all of that chaos, we have got a fairly reasonable gold lead for the side of Ruddy, 3,000 to the advantage, but Domino have picked up both of these early Drakes, so if Ruddy aren't able to use this advantage they got to themselves to get more, that stacking advantage is on the side of the blue side team.
Yes, but the thing the blue side team really wants is advantageous fights, and Ruddy seem very happy to give them any kind of a strong fight, regardless of Ruddy's own assessment. They don't seem to be assessing at this point, and they're definitely not so far ahead that they're able to just freely win any kind of a skirmish, right? Even just looking at the gold here, right? Sure, you have a lot on them Boxney, but a lot of these fights are started away from them Boxney. If they want to do this, they have to start getting into better formations before these fight scenarios, rather than assume that just because some of the map is ahead, that your Vi, that your Ornn are also steamrolling. Vi isn't even ahead here, right? In terms of raw gold, right? And if Rifty is ahead, it's by a fraction, and let's be real, he's not your big DPS. Yes, your carries are fed, but Niter took ages to get into the second to last fight. DV was basically isolated for the entirety of the last one. Get into better formations before this, and honestly, just play the game. It's not a scrim, it's a stage game. I know you see Domino on the other side and you're smelling blood, but let's calm down. We're not sharks, we're not animals, even though we're playing like them. Just try to play some solid League of Legends and prove that you're worthy of being mentioned in the same breath as Riddle and Nord.
I'll tell you what, I feel like we saw maybe a little bit of a chilling out there in the mid lane. No Name was thinking about a dive, but Snarby being revealed, Ruddy go, actually, we don't need to continue to make plays for that. That mid lane tower is at about 2 HP anyway. One more also from Niter is going to take that down. That's more gold for the Ruddy mid lane, and that's a lot more map pressure as well. As in the bot lane, Dimvoxney has died once more.
I mean... well, surely Ruddy won't start a fight now then, right? With their biggest gold advantage gone. Surely they won't. Actually, it looks like they're not. They have definitely calmed down. But now they have to remember how to play the map. It's not as simple as don't fight. There are other aspects of League of Legends as well. Luckily, that particular death, there isn't immediately something on the map that Domino's want to acquire with 2 minutes until the next Drake comes up, with 4 minutes until Baron comes into play. So, pretty calm even with that death. Like, obviously...
Time to relax.
Yeah, time to relax. It will make Domino a bit better on the next fight, but Ruddy have somewhat calmed down with their fight, but it's not the end of the world to lose out there.
Yeah, and I think the key thing about a game that is this action-packed early on is that you end up with accelerated gold totals on a few of these champions. Niter is very, very close to approaching his second item with that Saras nearly completed. Might get caught out in the bot lane, though. Snarby thinking about charging up and engage, but more members of Ruddy are moving over to the play. Actually, a flash coming through for the Rune Prison, but Lari able to use the Summoner spell to just about get away. No Name charging up the Bold Breaker coming in the backside and gets Snarby. Den Voxday with the 7th kill of the game. Shackle diving back into the rest of the fight, trying to make the resets happen, but he can't. He dies to Nash, and Fyontbon is looking for Denvoxday. He's not going to be able to find him. Shaolin can, though, with the unleashed power. Niter kiting with the phase rush on the other side of the fight. The health bars on Domino are criminally low, but not low enough for the Ruddy mid laner to make a play.
Yeah, DV there, he burned his ultimate on Shaolin instead of the incoming teleport, and because of that, it was fairly easy for Fyontbon to just insta-jump on him. Look here, so Niter actually grouped with the team here before the fight. He's the one that initiates the pick, and whereas Nash goes for the follow-up, Lari gets flash out. That's actually a fairly good scenario, but Snarby, he's gone too far forward. No Name gets out, Viego gets really, really greedy here, and the fight extends. The issue is that with that TP... more fights. More fights.
They're fighting again.
You're going to run out of breath, but I can't analyze a single play, you know? If I begin talking about this, all right, somehow, like, Ornn's just going to TP top and just insta-start fighting Jace or something. We're going to get cut out the replay immediately, you know? Like... Look, TLDR, all right? If they keep them boxing alive, they win the fight. If they don't, it gets a bit doomed, right? All of your cooldowns and everything needs to be in an elongated scenario based around, can we enable Denvoxday and Niter to do damage, right? And if they lose track of that, they will end up losing these fights. That sounds really obvious with this composition, and it is really obvious with this composition, but they're quite losing their minds here against Domino's. Or they're just making things really entertaining, who knows?
I think we're all losing our minds a little bit, and I tell you what, Domino, they've just grabbed their 3rd Drake of the game. They've got an Ocean Soul potentially in 5 minutes' time, excuse me, whilst they don't have the gold lead.
I mean, honestly, if Snarby, like, loses his Hylissang moments here, loses his 2022 Hylissang moments here and becomes more like a 2023 Hylissang, they're actually in a really good position on the map. That play for bottom tower there was really good, but Snarby was so far forward with the Viego that they're not able to cleanly reset and capitalize on the top wave. If they were capitalizing on the top wave, they'd actually be fairly even with Ruddy around the map. And this is the issue. Even though Ruddy are gifting them some fights where they really shouldn't be getting as much as they're getting, Domino's don't seem to have that map play experience to immediately make those decisions. Why is Jace staying up there on the tier 1 tower? Why aren't we just enabling a reset with our jungle top support and then immediately switching Jace to be on that top tower? I would expect my Jace to be on that top tower right now while mages play to defend against the Herald drop on bot lane.
Encore lands onto No Name in the bottom lane, but no real engage is going to come out. And I think that's interesting that you speak to that, because the kill score is very, very even, but Ruddy are the ones who have been running the map in terms of taking these towers. And even if you've got 3 Drakes in your pocket, that's not going to win you the game. Heck, even if you get Ocean Soul, that may not win you this game. Domino, they need to start taking down some structures so they can move around a bit more freely, but a teleport into the mid lane and their push is cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, they're terrified of the idea of a full dive from Ruddy if they show Jace on top side there. But a dive from Ruddy into a Seraphine, into a Syndra, into a Rel, that would be very difficult for them to execute. You only need 1 reset on that Viego, and I think it becomes a bit more playable. Really, like, the map play from Domino isn't there right now. If it was there, they're definitely in a strong position, right? Or were in a strong position. Now with the Herald drop on bot side, they've lost control of the map again, and Ruddy are firmly in control. But these windows they have to finally turn the game tempo in their favor, they keep losing, and that's getting somewhat frustrating watching the Domino side, because they're so close to making this game competitive with Ruddy.
Ooh, Niter is low in the top lane.
Window
He's going to be dead in the top lane. Shackle getting that one, and that was a reset that we were talking about. No name way too far forward. He is going to be able to get the ult down onto the rise. The smart flashback will keep him alive. Rifty knocks Shackle into the air, and he falls down into his grave. That's a kill, a double for Den Voxnate. And once again, Domino, they look for something, but the execution from Ruddy is just that little bit cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, Shackle, he thought he saw it. He thought he saw the window to start resetting in the middle of Ruddy. Maybe immediately turned towards Nash for the next kill, but, you know, he extended just a bit too far. Flash out from Rifty. That can actually be pretty impactful. And Ruddy DV, like, honestly, even though Valis is on their team, and even though Vi was still up, that bit of damage onto Rifty somewhat ensures that they can't start threatening the Baron on this rotation. And the immediate resets are coming up from Domino, so maybe they can take that Baron control back and get the game going a little bit longer. Ruddy have shown that the longer the game goes, the more opportunities like the one you're seeing on your screen, they're happy to give out. Like, this could have been a really easy opportunity for them. They get Niter, No Name flashes out, and Shekel, he really thinks this is the moment for him to grab No Name. He flips for it. I respect the flip for it, but it just wasn't there this time round. And here with the Varus, honestly, DV, Rifty, they're in a good position to threaten this Baron so long as No Name gets back on the map with a decent level of HP. But this pick on towards Rifty, this HP drop means that Ruddy now have to get off the map. Domino match their resets there. They can take back control of Baron, and Ruddy can't just do the typical game-closing actions of threaten Baron, make pick, end game.
And I'll tell you what, at the moment, Domino are threatening Ocean Soul. They're getting decent damage onto Nash.
They're first on with that reset advantage. It's good. But every time Domino begin a good play like that, you know, it just barely goes wrong, right? Ruddy are just a bit further ahead on execution, but let's see if that's the way here.
Oh, Snarby is diving forward, and actually Shackle is getting pushed away. Three-man charm, and it's a first kill of fight for Domino. No Name going down, and Shackle crucially gets that reset, but he gets exploded before he could take advantage, and it's being turned around once more. Every time Domino look for a fight, they find their folly. Ruddy Esports take down 4 in the bot side.
I mean, Shackle has to go for these resets, but Ruddy have enough CC with this ridiculous all-in composition to spare for when he comes out of his invulnerability. I do like the plans that Dominoes have, and I do like the positions that they come in. I love the moonwalking there from Snarby, by the way. Excellent technique. And into a really good triple engage there. One bit of CC down. The charm allows Shackle to get his next one, but look, immediately, the moment he comes out, Rifty is ready for him with the knockups. Nash even was on top of them, and there just isn't enough from Dominoes, despite the Seraphine, to be able to keep Shackle alive long enough to get the next reset going in. Shackle and Jace really are the majority of their damage here. Obviously, you do have the Syndra scaling in at some point, but because you insist on these kinds of champions for Lari, you're very reliant on that Viego, and the moment the Viego was down, it was easy for Ruddy to start cleaning up the rest of Dominoes. But that was Dominoes, again, with a good position on the map, right? That was actually really good position from them. That was one of the best situations they were going to get. But once again, the execution was just a couple of seconds off from everybody. Shackle couldn't quite get backed up by his teammates the way he'd want to. Here again, though, exact same kind of attempt, but on the other side of the map.
Oh, I love this. They're trying to find out No Name. Spectrum is going to get interrupted, but they're not able to join the engage. Then Voxnate can cleanse away, and Shaolin is on the wrong side. It's already 2 kills for Ruddy. Every single time, exactly the same Domino. They look for something, but they find precious little. Already 3 dead, and Shaolin may just get run down.
I mean, you have to respect the fact that they are constantly finding these positions to be in where they can possibly engage on towards Ruddy. But there, you said they're trying to get onto No Name. I think they're actually trying to get onto Demboxley, and Demboxley just wasn't falling for this, right? He has a front line to play with. Let's send these guys in first, and if they kill the cow, maybe they can be worthy of the EV, but only Syndra could get a CC on him. And the Seraphine ultimate, immediately cleansed by Demboxley, starting off with the Michael Jackson special again. Domino's waiting here for their opponents. Oh my god! Wait, this is Tenet, no?
We're still going backwards. This is incredible. I love this. It's that we've got here, but you're right. Domino, they keep looking for these engages, but the issue is every time an engage like that doesn't work, it's a little bit more gold on Dembox, and it's a little bit more gold on Niter, and it's Larry overextending in bottom lane. Snarby might get caught out as well, but that Seraphine is a guaranteed kill for Ruddy. Their 29th of the game, and with Shackle getting locked down, they may make it 30. He's able to Heartseeker strike away just in time. This is high-octane stuff, and it's Ruddy coming out on top.
I mean, they'll get a bounty on top lane there, but Ruddy, again, fully in control of the map. They already have the Baron, they already have the Drakes. It's only a matter of time before that tier 2 goes down, taking all of Shackle's jungle while waiting for the next wave to come on bot side. Rifty, he's got the wave in on mid. He can flank if he wants to, or he can just take that tower. Ruddy really can do whatever they want with the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, Demboxley dies in the bot lane, but it doesn't really change the way that they're playing the map or the way they're approaching the game. They're still able to get down that mid lane inhibitor and apply a bit more pressure. The gold lead is basically 10k at this point, and I'm not sure if Domino have got another fight in them.
I mean, they definitely have another few attempts at the fight. And I can't stress enough how good it is to see that, right? They're not just laying down and dying. They're not just talking about the next game. They are attempting to make picks, and that's really what their composition wants to do. Just there's such a level of crowd control and honestly just juggernauts coming out of the Ruddy side that is very difficult for them to get on top of someone like Demboxley unless Demboxley splits himself off. And there were some early fights where you're getting flanks, but as the map has become progressively more and more Ruddies, you're only finding these kinds of brush plays without these flank opportunities. And at this point, look at DB's build, right? He has a stopwatch, he has a whip send, he already had the Immortal Shield Bow, and he has Lethal Temper and Gwynzu's Rage Raid helping him permanently stack all these additional resistances and lifesteals. How are you actually going to take him now? And Niter also with the Zhonyas, right? Vi with the Zhonyas. Who really is left to pick? Are you going to 100-0 this Ornn? Gonna say that's kind of unlikely, right? That Alistair Revolt, kind of unlikely. And if you do burn all your cooldowns there, I think Varus and Ryze will agree with you. At this point, I'm no longer worried that Ruddy could throw this game. But it's good that Domino's made the attempts they did. They have a lot of footage to come out of this game with, and this is the kind of playstyle they could try to refine. And even though the Jace is 1 and 6, by the way, and the Rel is 2 and 7, like, I do respect their attempts. It would be the Viego with the high kill count here, because the whole composition is designed with enabling those Viego resets in mind.
Yeah, it's sort of just a consequence of the game state, as Nash is going to find a headbutt pulverize onto 2, and that key carry in Shackle is not going to be able to contribute very much to this fight. A triple charm is decent, but Snarby is isolated. Snarby is dead, and Fionpon is going to suffer a similar fate. No Name with that kill, and Ruddy look for even more. No Name will go down.
I mean, Viego's
2 for 1 in the play. Shackle does have a corpse that he can't get anymore, but still moving forward towards this Drake is going to be oh so difficult. He's able to dodge away. That's a decent double stun. Actually, Nash taken incredibly low. Zhonyas from Skaggle is going to buy a little bit of time for himself, but as soon as he pops out, Niter will take him down. The Realm Warp forward onto Shaolin and Larry. A flash forward from Niter and Ruddy. They keep cleaning up these engages.
It's very annoying to play a pick composition like the one Domino's have got and yet find that even the enemy carries are tanky. That stopwatch is still up on both the Ryze and the Varus, but their resistances and innate HP are at such a level that they just can't find the breaking point on them. They can't get that initial ball rolling on the Viego resets, and all the pill, everything just comes through. There's no map control to even find flanks on these guys, and if you do, you're not 100-0ing any of them. The options aren't there anymore for Domino's unless they can start making extended fights. But then who really is your DPS in that, right? The whole composition is based around burst, based around picks, and based around that Viego, and they can't get that. There is no plan B on the Domino's lineup. Ruddy are just looking to finish the game in the next 2 minutes.
And it was the creativity, the inventiveness that we kind of wanted, that we kind of expect from Domino at this point. But Ruddy, like you were saying, they're at a point where that creativity, it's not enough to overcome the difference between these two teams, both in game and maybe out of game as well, just looking at their general power levels. We do have 40 seconds until the Baron spawns. I can't imagine that Domino are going to be contesting that. So Ruddy's game plan, it feels like, grab the purple buff, head down mid lane, end the game.
Yeah, I mean, they can play very simply for this Baron if they were able to take full control of vision here. Then Dominoes are forced to choose, do we let you get the Baron or do we fight?
Oh no,
if
Shaolin.
They fight, they lose. If they Baron, yeah, okay, well, but Shaolin's dead, so this is just, well, have fun. Yeah, very playable here. Most playable
Good luck in
Syndra
Esports.
moment.
Yep.
It's fine, he almost tickled the Alistair.
Almost.
So
Nita's realm warping away on the bot side, so Domino
Look how
can
tanky the ADC
start
is,
to move
man.
over. Yeah, Devoxy has got a lot of HP. Snarby is trying to find a flank for Shackle. I'm not sure that the Viego is going to get anywhere near this Baron pit. Ruddy are going to peel away, take down Snarby. Or at least they're going to try to. Eventually able to grab him. 13th kill of the game for Devoxy. Shackle is on a little bit of a magical journey in the enemy jungle, but I can't imagine the result is going to be very pleasant.
The enemy ADC only has 3,000 effective HP, but, you know, at least it takes him like 5 seconds to delete our tanks.
Is Nita just going to 1v2 here? I think Nita might just 1v2 here! Locks down the Seraphine, and Bum dies as well. A double kill for the Ruddy mid laner and the Baron on top.
That's a 39% win rate champion right there. Really
is it that low?
It was at one point. I'm pretty sure it's just like a 40% one now.
Shackle's kind of winning the 1v1 here, but it's going to take a while. I mean, longer than his base has got, unfortunately.
It's fine. Like right now, the issue is that Ryze has ultimate in 20 seconds, and he won't be able to prevent himself from realm warping everyone into the fountain.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the real issue, at least on the Domino side, is they're about to lose. Ruddy, focus down the Nexus towers. Focus down the Nexus. Hunt for a few more kills on the fountain. They're not going to be able to find them in a 39 kill to 18 banger. Ruddy get the victory over Domino.
He's a genius. I didn't know you could just not realm warp your entire team into the fountain as Ryze. Oh my god. I learned something today. You know, something new every day. Yeah. It's amazing. Non-suicidal Ryze gameplay. Makes you think.
Makes you think. Right, veteran. We have an obligation at the end of every game, and that is to pick the MVP. I'm going to be completely honest. That game was an absolute mess from my perspective. Were you able to pick out one, maybe two players that we can go, actually, these guys were real difference makers? I
mean, it would have been Den Voxley if it wasn't for those areas in mid-game where he just started getting picked off for fun. I think the most consistently performing one would be Nash, right? The next one would possibly be No Name. But I do think Nash probably deserves it overall on the Alistair. He did a lot of impact in the opening team fight, which got Ruddy their big lead, and he was able to keep his carries alive effectively for a lot of fights afterwards. This fight notwithstanding. But here everybody was kind of trolling a bit, but this was also another fight where it's like, why are you guys even engaging with them Voxnay not having his ultimate up? It's difficult. The fight's really, really messy. They were all equally impactful players, all right? Yeah. Actually, you know what? Nita didn't put a foot wrong. Nita didn't put a foot wrong. Like, it's like, even though he had like a really big highlight play at the end, it was easy to kind of forget about him because he spent so much time talking about a lot of the other players there. But Nita honestly didn't put a foot wrong this game. Not to say he played perfectly, but he did not play so egregiously horrible as to have a moment like DV just had here, right?
I think if we're going to be going, maybe not DV, there were a couple of moments where he did get caught out a little bit unnecessarily. Not enough to really put the win in jeopardy for Ruddy. But Domino, they were willing to take these fights, which is, like we're sort of saying on the cast, is really great to see from one of these teams that we're not maybe expecting as much at coming through on the last few weeks of the season. They're still willing to play this front-facing, this front-foot League of Legends, which is so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, watching all of these highlights actually really solidifies to me how valuable I think Naito was the whole time. It's difficult to ascribe particular values, but I do think he was at least playing the most consistently of his teammates. I do think, though, if you reverse to the start of this replay, that was actually a mistake by Naito. But I'll just eliminate it from my memory so I don't have to think about this face.
Cognitive dissonance is a wonderful thing.
Yes, I mean...
If some information would disprove my worldview, I just ignore the information, you know?
Absolute facts right there, to be honest.
Right, as I believe now we are going to be joined for the interviews after that game. First up, we are going to have Pride, coach of Domino. A loss for you guys today, unfortunately, but damn, that was entertaining.
Yeah, that was entertaining. Just want to correct you, not the coach, I'm the manager.
Not the coach manager. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Interesting.
But like I was saying, mate, it was...
person.
You are the Pride who was the top laner, right?
No, I'm not that guy. No.
Oh God, man! All right, I spent my whole time being like, "What?" Okay, there you go. We're all good.
Are you currently being hunted by a guy called Pride Stalker?
Maybe. I'm being hunted by a lot of prides, actually.
I respect it.
Pride, very, very good username, very, very popular one. But like I was saying, mate, it was a rough game. Like, obviously not able to come out with a loss, but I think we've seen in this game a lot of the stuff that we've seen from Domino throughout the split. Some really fun, entertaining, front-facing League of Legends with some inventive picks and inventive play styles. How does it feel, like sort of for this team, right? Because you are in this rough spot where playoffs isn't really something that you can reach now, but you're still playing this entertaining League of Legends. Why do you think that's coming from?
I mean, we're all competitors. We still want to win. Still want to shake things up, maybe. For my case, at least, if we can't make playoffs or EU Masters ourselves, we'll damn sure make sure that the team that's going is prepared. So it's kind of helping each other along the way too. But for the players, they still want to win. The org still want to, not relegate. We want to stay in Division 1 and, show that we belong here. And it's going to be a work in progress every match and every day. So, but I just have fun watching the guys, fight for it and putting Ruddy out of maybe a position they're not so comfortable with, because I don't think they want to have 50 kills at 31 minutes kind of game. But
I'll tell you what, mate. We were absolutely losing our mind over the course of that game. But I think you're right, mate. And I think that's a really admirable attitude to have, to stay strong as a competitor, even though you're maybe not in the best spot. And I think something that Veteran, you were actually touching on before the series, is that it really is all about the players in a lot of these games, them trying to show up as much as they can.
Yeah, of course. Like, sure. Oh, sorry. For the players as well.
Something. Go on.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, for the players as well, it's their time to show themselves. Even though they didn't make it, they could still, show how their future is. Basically, that they belong here and they shouldn't give up. Nobody, even bottom team like Natus right now, they should show their strengths, right? Sure. And before you can win, you have to learn how to lose. Yeah.
I mean, if they spent this game just slowly losing instead of finding those rush picks, instead of trying to make fights happen in their favor and going for that stuff, definitely it would look worse for them coming into the next off season or something like that, right? You wouldn't remember these as players that will keep fighting, have some kind of mechanical ability, even though there were definitely times where it's basically a 40% chance of success for Shackle to go in there. The fact he went in there at all is good, because there's a 100% chance they lose if he doesn't, and that will make people remember a player like that a lot better than if they just lay down and die. So it's good that they have that, and that's something I don't see people talk about a lot, that player mindset changing towards the the end, even if they're on the losing team, to become about proving themselves next split can be a really good motivating factor. And it helped you really make Ruddy fight for what they probably thought was going to be a freer win than was.
Probably thought so, but we are a wild card, I think so.
Yes, I agree.
A little bit of chaos. Well, Pride, thank you very much for coming and chatting with us. It's always nice to talk to you. You always got a smile on your face, even though you may not have a smile on the little plushie on your shoulder there. But great stuff.
Someone
Lovely to
has
chat
to
with you, mate. Someone has to, right?
Yeah.
But thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Okay, and now we are going to be joined by the victorious jungler for Ruddy Esports, No Name.
Hello.
First question off the bat, what the hell was going on that game, mate?
I don't know, this game was pure chaos, like, there was no macro or anything, we were just running around fighting. It was so bad. I'm not sure, like, what it was around this Herald, like, it was just non-stop fighting and then it escalated throughout the whole game. Yeah, it was a disgusting game.
Yeah, there was some interesting moments. So I kind of want to get your perspective on how it feels to play in a game like that, because Veteran said this is looking a little bit like a scrim, and 50 kills by 30 minutes. That sounds sounds like a lot of scrims. What is the mindset for you playing an official and it ending up going into this sort of chaotic style?
Well, honestly, I mean, it can be kind of fun if I'm playing like a real champ, but I'm playing via like there's no mechanical outplay. It's so boring. Like all I can do is click one button. Like, if I'm playing Viego, I'd have fun in these games, just killing everyone. But Vi is so boring.
Don't act like you don't get a dopamine spike every time you Q and auto cancel E and get the fucking click from the armor. You know when it gets struck down.
Yeah,
don't tell me that's not the most insane dopamine spike in League of Legends.
I don't know. I don't like Vi.
Yeah. Bro, the E auto reset mechanics, bro. I don't know what your what the issue is, but obviously for you guys on Ruddy, coming into the end of the split, you're kind of on hot form, 6 wins in a row now, and you're really keeping up the pressure towards these teams at the top of the table. Looking forward, tomorrow you guys are going to be playing up against Nord. What are your thoughts specifically going into that matchup, and do you think that you can take them down and push yourself into that top 2?
I mean, yeah, I hope so. Like, our scrims this week were not the best. We've had some changes inside, but our goal is still to win everything, right? So that has to come with beating Nord tomorrow. We're definitely capable. We just need to show it tomorrow, yeah.
Excellent. Great. Veteran, anything to add?
How was scrims today?
Oh, we didn't have scrims today. We just had some warm-up games, but
You definitely had a scrim today. I just finished casting it for the last 40 minutes.
I mean, yeah, a pretty unproductive scrim today.
And when will we finally see the return of your Lee Sin?
Oh man, honestly,
Be careful how you answer this.
my team has like low-key banned Lee Sin, but the champ is playable. Like, honestly, this champ is low-key OP, especially if I'm playing it. So yeah, next time, maybe we play it tomorrow. You never know.
And actually, on the jungle picks thing, because I actually only got to see the bans for the draft. You can check in the board what I mean by that. But they banned Elise, you banned Ashe. Did you know that they couldn't play Maokai when you did that? Because otherwise, you're kind of gifting Maokai for free, or was there a plan there, or what was up with that?
I mean, initial draft proof was that their jungle doesn't play any meta, pretty much. He just plays
that was his
meta
knowledge.
stuff. So, I mean, we kind of expected them to have to ban Ashe Maokai at least. Seju Maokai at least, because they don't play it themselves. So we knew, and we had like plans for most scenarios, right? And this is the one we ended up with, and we were fine with almost anything that could happen because, well, we knew that they would pick something that we didn't really care about, because as long as we got the meta champs that we wanted, it didn't really matter what they would have, because you can't really predict what they're gonna play when they play like Rek'Sai, Diana, Yasuo, like everything different each time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I suppose the most effective long-term counter to these sort of off-meta strategies is just play the stuff that's really strong. No Name, thank you very much for chatting with us this evening. Congrats on the win today, and best of luck in your matchup against Nord tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah.
There you go.
Right,
They knew.
They know. Right, with that, we are going to be jumping to a short break now, but stick around. We've got Unique versus Veneer coming up in a few minutes.